Hi, it's Andrew from Northern Precision Arms. I'm doing my video on painting the 469 Smith & Wesson that I disassembled and assembled in previous videos. The very first thing in the next step that we're going to do is degrease the parts. And take a look down here. I already have them in acetone. Okay, you want to use a non-water-based formula such as acetone or break free, and soak them for 10 to 15 minutes to degrease them. Polymer parts, you do not want to do that, just wipe them down. So this is the second step after disassembly, is to degrease, and then we're going to sandblast, well actually gas out, I'm sorry. We're going to gas it out. Gassing out is you heat the parts in your oven and look for any wet spots where there's still grease inside, where you would then have to re-soak them in your degreaser until you no longer get the wet spots during the gas out process. Alright, so these have been soaking for 16 minutes, which is more than enough. Now I'm going to pull them out, let them air dry, and we're going to rack them for the degassing or gas out process. You don't want to touch these with your bare hands. Your hands have oils on them, and that can affect the adherence of the paint to the surface. So I use nitrile gloves, and I'm just going to move them over and hang them up in my spray booth to dry before we gas out. Alright, so these smaller parts we're going to put on a little wire so that they can get painted properly, and during the blasting process, etc., they're not going to get thrown all about. So I just slide it on here, put it up near the top so I got plenty of room. I'm going to fold this over so that it doesn't slide off, and go down to the next part. You want to keep them a little bit of ways away from each other so you're not getting overspray on each one when you're painting them, because you may end up with runs. Which one do I want to do next? And then I'm going to put on the very bottom, actually I'm going to do that the other way. That screw. We just make it so that they don't fall off, but you can still get paint everywhere. And then I'm going to hang it. Okay, so I'm going to do up, I got a couple other parts that I'm going to be blasting and painting at the same time, but that's the basic process. Alright, now I got my oven set for 300 degrees, and we are going to gas those out. So I will, once we get up to the temperature, I'll put those in and I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, so we're just about to temp, so I'm going to put these in here because it's going to have to reheat anyways. But we open up the door. I got my rack set up, so I'm just going to hang these parts right inside of there. Sorry for all the movement there, but my door ran away from me, which is going to let out more heat than I care to have out. And these racks, I don't remember if I showed it once I got them all on here. This is basically just for gassing out. I'm going to take them out and hold on to them when I blast them, and then I'll put them back on. Obviously wearing a glove when I do it. Okay, everything's in there. Now we're going to let it get back up to temp, and then I'll reset my timer. I have mine set up that it only puts out heat as long as there's call for a temperature and time. So once the time runs out, it stops the heat. I set a couple hours earlier, so it's 300 degrees for 1 hour to gas out. Alright, we will come back once gassing out's over. Alright, so it's about to get loud in here, so I will be fast forwarding the video after this point, but between the vacuum and the air compressor, it's going to get noisy. But we're going to blast this until all the paint's off and there's no shine to the metal. So I took a break from blasting. There's some things I did not want to blast. I still got to tape this off. I don't want to blast the inside of that. I didn't want to blast the top of my trigger where the sear is. I didn't want to blast the inside of my safety, the threads on the screw, and the inside of the hammer, and all of the, the cock positions. I could polish them if I wanted to. For example, a couple of notes on this. I do this as a profession, and I'm a professional gunsmith, so I can repolish this so that it slides later. That's something I would not recommend that you do, as well as the insides here and here. Oops. Inside of here and over here. I can polish all that back to where it should be. Those are things that you should really tape off if you're not doing this as a professional. So I'm going to blast. I'm going to tape that off, blast these. Yes, I do blast even the polymer. This gets baked differently, so it won't go in with the rest of it. But I do want to paint it, and I want it to look right, so I am going to blast this as well. Here's the parts that I already did. Completely took everything off of them, including this where's the camera? This nut, that is your mag release, and obviously the frame and the slide. So I'm going to skip showing you guys the rest of this. I need to recharge my camera anyways, but I'm also going to blast this flashlight and these magazines. So when I get back to blowing these off and then we'll prep for paint, we'll get back to this. Okay, so since my camera was charging, I've already blown these off, but basically you take an air compressor with a hose and blow everything off. So, what exactly are we blowing off? Well, we are blowing off anything that's left in there of the blast media. You need to get that blown off, otherwise it'll wreck your paint job. So, everything has been disassembled, degreased, sandblasted, and blown off. Last step, paint it. We're going to do that next. Thank you for watching my video on the surface prep for my Model 469. I'm going to do another video where we cover the actual painting. I just figured I'd do the separate videos for the two so they're not so long. Keep in mind I'm using Cerakote. This is what absolutely has to happen for a good Cerakote job. There's other people out there that I've seen that have done videos that they do not follow the proper procedures for doing their Cerakote paint jobs. And yeah, they may look good, but that paint job is not going to last. So if you want it done, do it right. Have somebody like myself that's a professional that knows what they're doing and takes the time and actually cares about the end result 10 years down the road of what this is going to look like. So I don't do this just because I like taking all that time to do it. I do it because that's what absolutely has to happen for that paint job if you want it to last. And that's what I do. So thank you. Please like and subscribe and check out my website.